Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to learn how we can encrypt our root device volume and how we can take snapshots. So it's a lab and you're going to need to log into the AWS console. Okay, so I'm in the AWS console and I'm going to go over to EC2. And then in EC2, what I want to do is I'll just have a look at my instance. So my instance right now, it's running. But because I want to take a snapshot and I want this snapshot to be consistent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this instance. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And this is going to stop the instance. So when I take a snapshot of the root device volume under that instance, we're going to have consistent data. We're not going to have any inconsistencies. So this is best practice. So as soon as this is stopped, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my volumes and I'm going to take a snapshot of the volume. Just going to go back to the EC2 dashboard and just see, yep, so it has definitely stopped. So we'll go back to volumes and in here I'm going to go ahead and create a snapshot. Now we'll call this snapshot my root device volume. I'm just going to copy and paste this and I'm going to leave that as the description, and see here in encrypted it says no and I've got no option to change that, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit create, and so now that's going to create a snapshot. We should be able to see it in here and it was really quick actually. It's already been completed. So now that I've got that snapshot, what I want to do is I can do a couple of things actually. So I'll show you in here. We can copy this snapshot and we can actually copy it to a different region, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy it over to Northern California, for example, or maybe I'll do to Northern Virginia actually. Let's go to Northern Virginia, which is here, so US East, and in here we've got the option to encrypt the copy of the snapshot. So I'm going to encrypt this copy and I'm going to go ahead and hit copy. So now this is literally taking a snapshot or creating a copy of my snapshot. It's encrypting it and it's it's transmitting that over the Atlantic Ocean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here and go over to Northern Virginia. So I'm just going to change my region. Okay, so here is my encrypted snapshot. We can click on it. If you look down here, it says encrypted. It's finished copying over all the way across the Atlantic to Northern Virginia. Now what I want to do is just go into actions and I'm going to create an image of this snapshot, and I'm going to call it, let's just call it my encrypted AMI, Amazon Machine Image, and I'm going to copy and paste. And now what we can do once this has been created is we can use this image to basically boot our EC2 servers from, and of course the root device volume will now be encrypted. So that will take a little bit of time. If I go into volumes, if I go over to AMIs under images right here, wow, that was quick. In the London region it takes quite a bit of time, but in Northern Virginia it has already created this AMI. So there it is right there. So what I can do now is just go into launch, and you can see there are a whole bunch of different instance types, but this particular AMI is restricted to M3s and C3s, etc., M4s and C3s, or M3 actually. So what I want to do is, you don't have to do this because you're going to go outside of free tier. I'm just going to do this to show you. So the M3 medium, for example, I'm going to select that. I'm going to leave everything else as default. I'm going to go ahead and add our storage, and in here we can see now that the root device volume is encrypted, and that's because we have copied a snapshot. When we were copying that snapshot, we encrypted it in the copying process, and then we've created an AMI from that snapshot, and now I can boot my EC2 instances from that encrypted AMI. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. We'll just call it the same thing, my encrypted AMI, or we'll call it my encrypted web server. Go ahead and hit next. Select an existing security group. So here's one I set up earlier. So it's Northern Virginia. It's just got HTTP and SSH open. Hit review and launch, and I'm going to go in and launch it, and I've got access to this key pair. And there we go. So now I am basically spinning up in Northern Virginia an EC2 instance that has its root device volume encrypted at rest, and this AMI basically was created from, and this And this AMI was created from my snapshot, which I took in London. So we are really going global here. So that is how we use AMIs. I also just want to show you, if we go into launch instances in here, we've got the AWS Marketplace. So this is where you purchase AMIs or rent them by the hour, and depending on what it is that you want to do. So you can scroll down, you can see a whole bunch of different ones here. Let's go have a look at some security products, different AMIs that are for sale. So this one, Palo Alto Networks, this is a firewall that we can use. So we can actually use this AMI as a firewall and then have other EC2 instances behind it. And of course, in this one, we're paying $1.28 an hour. For the Sophos one, we're paying 10 cents an hour. And you can see that the prices vary depending on the different AMIs. We've also got community AMIs in here. But one thing you have to understand about AMIs is that they're not going to be encrypted at rest. The reason for that is the encryption key is actually held within your own AWS account. So when we create our encrypted AMIs, they're always going to be private, but you can see them in the My AMIs here, and you can go in and hit select there if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and quickly terminate that instance. I'm not going to be needing it or using it anymore, so just go in and terminate it up here. Just go Actions, Instant State, Terminate, hit Yes. Okay, so that's terminated my EC2 instance. Then what you might want to do is just go into your AMIs and deregister this AMI. Because I am in the process of terminating my instance, it might not deregister straight away, but it will do it once that instance has been terminated. And then you can go in and just delete your snapshots and as well. Okay, so what have we learned in this lab? Well, we learned that to create a snapshot for an Amazon EBS volume that serves as root devices, you should always stop the instance before taking the snapshot, which is what we did. And then from a security perspective, snapshots of encrypted volumes are encrypted automatically. So if I go into that EC2 instance that we have now and take a snapshot of it, that snapshot's going to be encrypted because the root device volume is already encrypted. Volumes restored from encrypted snapshots are encrypted automatically as well. So once you've encrypted your snapshots, any kind of restoration you do from those snapshots are going to be encrypted. And then you can share snapshots, but only if they're unencrypted. So you can't share encrypted snapshots because the encryption key is tied to your AWS account. And these snapshots can be shared with other AWS accounts, or you can make them public and you can even sell them on the store, which we had a look at earlier. So you must be thinking, okay, great, what would I actually use Amazon Machine Images for? Well, think about it. If you create a web server, you might go in and install Apache, you might apply all your security patches, you might configure it just the way that you want it, and you might even have your base web code in your var www directory. You can then create a snapshot of that base image, and then you can actually promote that snapshot to be an Amazon Machine Image, and then you can boot similar web servers from there. So the next time that you provision an EC2 instance, you don't need to go in and install Apache all over again, and you don't need to copy your website code over. Now we're going to look at how we can use Amazon Machine Images with auto-scaling in a few labs from now. And we're also going to be using Amazon Machine Images later on in the course when we start creating fault-tolerant WordPress sites that basically self-heal. So basically learning how to create snapshots and then creating AMIs from that snapshot is really important, both for the exam and in the real world. So that's it from me, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.